To stream or not to stream? That is the question. Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome to the next episode in the life of a virtual cargo pilot. Now, I have this still listed as Season 1, the first couple flights in this FedEx tour, and I think that I'm going to shift it all the FedEx stuff to Season 2, because it just makes a little more sense considering the way Season 1 kind of came to its own little conclusion. Anyway, so we've got a short flight today. We're going to fly from LAX over to Phoenix, which of course everybody knows I love flying into Phoenix. And I keep getting that little buzzing sound or bumping sound or whatever in the background probably from GSX telling me, I don't know. It says deboarding crew now, cargo unloading in progress, but that's not what they're supposed to be doing actually. They're supposed to be loading cargo, not unloading. So I guess we're gonna, I don't know, unload and then reload or something like that. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm trying to get that to turn off. Turn off, please. There we go. Turned off finally. Anyway, so short flight today, LAX over to Phoenix. Now the reason I started off by saying the question is whether to stream or not to stream is just yesterday we did a very long flight in PMDG's 747. It was a great flight. However, the conclusion was, well, let's just say, disappointing due to a massive frame rates issue. Now, for those of you who were watching that live stream or who have seen the uploaded video, interestingly enough, 5 minutes max after I ended that stream, I had shut everything down and I hadn't even redone the drivers or anything yet. I started up everything that was running from the beginning of that stream, except that I loaded the aircraft in at Schiphol, and I mean everything maxed out, remaxed out my clouds, all of that stuff, fired it up, and on the flight deck I was getting 28 frames per second, and outside of the aircraft I was getting 56 frames per second. The only thing I wasn't doing at that time was streaming. So then I set up a private stream, which you guys weren't able to see obviously, and I started streaming again. And it was the same. So I don't understand why my frame rates, and when I started out that stream it wasn't bad at all actually. We had a little bit of choppiness heading out of San Francisco, but then it got fantastic and it was great all the way up until, I don't know, a little over halfway through, and then it just went to crap again. So I don't know what's causing that, but if anybody knows why my stream would start out with good frame rates and the longer the flight goes it seems the worse it gets. So just a thought there. So I'm probably going to stream another flight later today. It's not going to be in the 747. We'll see how it goes. But I want to get this flight knocked out first. So we talked long enough about that. I just want to throw that out there for anybody who was watching. And then watch for a switch to FedEx Global Tour being Season 2 of the Life of a Virtual Cargo Pilot. And other than that, I think we're good to go. So what do you say we hop on the flight deck here? I'm going to pause for just a second before I hop on the flight deck and see why GSX is on its own program here. And then we'll get this started. Okay, well, GSX went ahead and did us a favor, and the Codal manager or whatever crashed, so it's not running it. Well, I restarted it, but I don't have GSX out there right now, so it is what it is. As you can see, we've got power on the aircraft here, as is our new tradition, if you will. I guess this is the right word for it. If there is a full flight tutorial for an aircraft, then we will not start the flights from cold and dark. And you can see in the top right hand corner there something popping up that should guide you to the full flight tutorial for the PMDG MD-11. So with that being said, we are picking up our checklist from the point where it says to continue here after a turnaround. So the cockpit is not cold and dark. And the first thing we need to do here is the engine APU fire test, which is all the way up top. That is, I just looked at it like 5 minutes ago. There it is. Bam. Hold that down. Let it do its thing.
Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire. Engine 3 fire. Engine 1 fire.
And then it'll just keep cycling through those, and obviously we don't want to listen to them over and over. So what's next? We're not going to throw on the APU quite yet because we got a lot of work to do in the FMC, so I don't want to do that. But we will fire up the APU obviously before we get ready to start engines. We do need to test the Annunciator lights. That's this guy down here. Hold the button down.
Overspeed.
And I don't know why the overspeed is on that one as well, but there we go. There's all our Annunciator lights. And of course we got more down below we could check, but I'm not worried about them failing. So there we go. Cabin pressure system light. Verify that it's extinguished. So cabin pressure is right here. System light, it is extinguished, so we're good on that. Cabin outflow valve is on. It is. What else? Air APU switch on. That's if we started the APU. We haven't yet. IRS alignment has already been taken care of. So now we can hop down here and jump right into our flight plan. So we want to check our model and our engines. Now I'm starting to make it a habit of checking the engines because I am using TopCat now. And so I've gone ahead and planned our departure and used TopCat to plan our takeoff, which should pop up right here. There we go. So this is all our flight plan, obviously. And then all the way down here at the bottom, we're going to use runway 7 right, flaps 10, normal takeoff. And that's based on what TopCat had to say for us. So let's scroll this back up here. I'm going to move it over here so I can see it. And we'll move on. So flight plan initialization is next. I believe I put the route in the right place, but we'll find out. So it's going to be KLAX / KPHX. And we'll throw that up here. And then there it is. So it's 03 because I've probably flown this route a bunch of times. I need to go in and actually clean out that folder. I just haven't done it yet. So let's select that one. Oh, sorry. I guess we don't have to select it. We just hit insert. Yep, and there we go, it's inserted. We don't have an alternate route, so I won't be putting one in there. We're going to just go with 2336 on the flight number. That's just simpler for me. It's going to become the Captain Mac number, I think. Not in database? Oh, I put it on the wrong line, I guess. There we go. I must have put it on the lat long there. Cruise flight level is 350. And then I'll put in one step just in case, but I don't see us stepping up. It's not a far flight at all. In fact, our total flight distance is 312 miles, or flight plan distance 341, but still very short. Alternate, our primary alternate is going to be KIWA, which I believe that's changed now, but it, of course in here it's still going to be KIWA. So return to flight plan, and cost index for us will be 85. It's been a little while since I've been in the MD-11. It hasn't actually been that long. It just, I've been so busy with the 747 and other aircraft that now I'm like trying to find my way around again. Okay, block fuel. I've got my payload manager up over here. Block fuel. Now, if I remember correctly, so this is our block fuel here, and I think you can just click on this. There we go, and that takes care of the takeoff gross weight of 489.8, and then 0 fuel weight and all that stuff. So that takes care of that for us. Takeoff center of gravity 23.1. And all of that lines up, if I remember correctly, with TopCat quite well. I could pull it up and look, but I'm just not going to do that right now. And then just some fuel information here and so on. And then, so next we go to our flight plan page or takeoff approach page. I don't recall. So if we go in here to our, to flight plan page, let's make sure we've got our... See, this shows us taking off from runway 25 right. Not really sure why that is. We can stick with that. I mean, the wind's kind of varying right now, and it's very, very light. So let's stick with 25 right. It's actually much closer to us anyway. And then it is to thermal, top of climb, top of descent, but we don't have our arrival yet. And interestingly enough, it shows us arriving on runway 26, but that's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. Alright, so not entirely sure why I'm going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on this. Probably just because I haven't flown this aircraft in a while, and it's a little crazy. The FMC is sort of a cross between Boeing and Airbus, right? So anyway, as far as our departure goes, well, actually, you just click on runway 25 right. I was looking for LAX, but it's not there. And then we can select our SID, right? So the plan was to take LAX 1, and that was from runway 7 right. Here's the deal. The wind is 0 at 0 right now. And we can still use runway 25 right. So we're going to take LAX 1, and we're going to stick with runway 25 right, and I think we'll be good to go. So we'll insert that in there, just like that. And then it's going to put a flight plan discontinuity, and that makes sense down there. That's fine. And then scroll down, and so instead of selecting Phoenix like I keep doing, we're going to select runway 26 because it's given us a runway already. I don't know why it's giving us that runway, but it is. And then if I look over here, actually, let me pull up the flight plan here. And it's telling us it's the H.O.T.A.S 1. So select the star here. And it's telling us runway 26. We're not going to land on runway 26. We're going to land on ILS 7 right. There we go. And that's going to be not only quicker for us, but more in line with the weather that I have for Phoenix right now. We'll see if that changes. And then we'll scroll down here until we find Hyder 1 for 7 right. There we go. And then our transition is at Blythe, and that should be good there. So now we can insert that. And then we'll check for flight plan discontinuities by returning to the active flight plan. And let's see, it's still got runway 26 in there, which obviously we don't want that. So we need to clear that out. There we go. And then we can clear out this flight plan discontinuity as well. And now we have a consistent flight plan. No, we don't. I lied. Let's clear out this flight plan discontinuity as well. And now we're getting somewhere. So it's runway 25 right, and then we're going to intercept. It's manual until we get to basically to SLI. So manual is the same as vectors, right? And then out to thermal or TRM, which is just its thermal VOR, and then to Blythe, BLH VOR. And then that puts us on to our arrival here. Down to Hyder, Gila, and we'll see all this during the arrival briefing and everything. And then runway 7 right. And then this is our missed approach procedure, hold, and then there we go. So now we've got that squared away. Let's go to our takeoff approach page. We're already taking too long here. Now, for flex temperature, remember we used TopCat on this one. I'll pull it back over here for you. This is the information from TopCat. It says normal takeoff, so there's no D rate on this one. So we're not going to put a flex temp in there. Now, probably part of the reason that is because I've got this sucker maxed out. So you can see we put basically max payload in there. So zero fuel weight actual is 443, 496. The max is 451, 300, right? And the only reason it's not all the way up to 451, 300 is because of our max landing weight. So we don't need to put a flex temp in there. All right. Now the wind is 0 at 0, and the slope of the runway is of course 0. So we're going to go 0 and 0 on that. Outside air temperature. Let me double check that real quick. It is 12 degrees Celsius. And if I remember correctly, you have to put the C in there. There we go. And then flap setting, what did we say the flaps were? Flaps 10. So flaps 10, normal takeoff, and then check and confirm V speeds. So V1 is going to be 140. Rotate at 160. V2 is at 174, and stab trim at 5.7. So if we scroll or cruise down here. So here's the deal with the flaps, right? You've got the dial-a-flap thing going on. We want flaps 10. So we're going to scroll that all the way up to here, and then when we bring our flaps down to the dial-a-flap, it'll be at flaps 10. Everybody tracking on that? Alright, that takes care of all the flight planning and the FMC here. Let's go ahead and continue on with our checklist. Next, we need to check our voice recorder button, or voice recorder test button. You'll hear a tone. I don't think I did that during the full flight tutorial for some reason. Bus fault lights, I could have stayed up here. Bus fault lights, we need to make sure those are extinguished. That's going to be on the electrical panel here. And bat bus, I don't see any fault lights at all, so we're good up there. There's the general bus fault over there. Not sure, it just says bus fault lights, so I'm not sure which ones it's talking about. Cargo temp needs to be set forward and aft. Cargo temp forward is low, aft is cold. I think those will be fine. Engine ignition off light. So we need to verify that this light is extinguished. That only happens when you select one of the starters. So we'll just select A there. Hydraulic system manual light, verify extinguished. So that's up here on our hydraulic panel, and it's the system light over here. If you have it on manual, it's on auto. If you have it on manual, then you'll see the light there. Obviously, we don't want that. Hydraulic system 1, 2, and 3 pressure lights verify illuminated. 1, 2, and 3 are all illuminated. And then the hydraulic pressure test button, we push that. I'm not going to push it. It's supposed to take about a minute. It takes like 5 or 6 minutes, and I'm just not doing that right now. So, smoke and electric air selector, verify normal. That's this guy right here. Drive 1, 2, and 3 switches all guarded. Drive 1, 2, 3. Losing my mind now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's been a little while since I've been in this one. Cab bus switch guarded. Where's cab bus? Right here. Cab bus switch is guarded. Emergency power needs to be armed. This should be on electrical as well, right? Where's emergency power? Here we go. Emergency power armed. We're good. Air mask switch, verify guarded. So down here on our air panel, mask switch guarded. Fantastic. Fuel system manual light off. Here's our fuel panel. System manual light is off. Exterior lights, landing lights retracted, nose light off, left and right wing and runway turnoff lights should be, says on and extinguished. So that's these two here, on, and that means they're on, and then the light on here is extinguished. Let's see, nav, verify on, extinguish, same thing. Logo lights on, beacon and high intensity lights off. That's those two here. So you can see the lighting is a little different. So for the logo lights on, this light is on. For the beacon lights and high intensity lights, they need to be off. This light is off, and that would be the same for these. So if there's a light on here, that means it's off. Well, see, that's incorrect because now it says it's on. So I'm a little confused by that, to be honest with you. Let's see what's next. Cabin pressure controller, verify auto. It is. We're not putting it on manual. That would be the system light anyway if we put it on manual. Ditching switch, verify guarded. Ditching switch is guarded. That's over here to the right, by the way. What else? Setting up the autopilot. That's what I was trying to get to. Whew. I feel like I'm out of breath here. It's ridiculous. Okay, first thing we want to do, we need to set the altimeter. I probably should just write down the weather, right? I haven't done that yet. So let me pop this up over here. And LAX, the wind is 0 at 0. I like that. And let's see, altimeter is 3013. And the temperature we said was 12. And that's good for now. Okay, so starting with the altimeter, let's set that 3013. That's 15. There we go. 3013. I don't remember if it sets both sides. Yes, it does. Fantastic. We can set this guy up. Let me glance at our departure here. And do we have any altitude restrictions? We're going out to thermal. Only that we need to be at or above 8,000, then at or above 10,000 at a couple of waypoints there. So that shouldn't be an issue. So let's take this all the way up to 350 we said we're starting with. There we go, 350, just like that. And then what was our V2 again? V2 was 174, so 179. I do want to make a note here real quick. So you got the traffic going on and everything, right? This is what really frustrated me yesterday during that live stream. Check out my frame rates right now. This is an FSX with the same traffic settings I had going yesterday in P3D version 4, right? And I'm not only in FSX, I'm at LA. There's aircraft on approach, a bunch of static aircraft sitting around and so on. And I got better frame rates than I was getting in P3D. What is that all about? That's ridiculous. All right. Anyway, I've had my say about it. Moving on. Barrels set, minimums. We don't need to worry about those right now. It's set at 200 radio. That's fine. Heading readout. What is the runway heading? Now, this is another thing too. Aircraft are obviously using the runway at the opposite end, so we're going to need to change that, aren't we? So we're going to change the runway 7 left. Let's do that real quick. Let's hop down here. It's going to delete our V-speeds. That's fine. Not our takeoff approach page. Flight plan page. It's got us from runway 25 right. We're not going to do that. We're going to go SID LAX1 from 7 left. It's a longer taxi, but that's okay. Now we still have to confirm V speeds. So runway 7 left to thermal and then BLH. Yeah. So I can live with that. So let's clear that out. It didn't add a bunch of extra stuff in there, which I'm always worried about. And then on to our arrival from there. So that's going to work. Now we still need to go to takeoff and approach page. And then we need to redo slope and winds. So it's 0 and 0. Outside air temperature remains the same, and then V1 is 140, 160, 174. So same V speeds that we had before are very close, and it's still going to leave us at 179 here. So I like that. That's going to work, and then we don't have to fight against traffic that's coming and going, because you can see they're all landing on those runways down there. So I don't want to mess around with that. What else we got here? Heading on nav display. Let's see, it's 071 degrees. So let's put that in here. There we go. 071 is our heading. I'm not messing with the clock. Let's see. Did the oxygen mask work in here? They should, right? Yep. There we go. Oxygen mask test. I can't even talk. Gear's good. System display. Open system display. That's what it's telling us to do right now. So let's see if I set this up. I did. So system. Which one's system on here? Did I never figure out how to do this right? I don't think I did. No, we're good on here. I've got what I want up here. Wants us to do the throttle test. It never works right anyway. Do I have it? I should have it set up to use all 3 throttles though, which I do. See, we don't get the warning on there, but we should on here. I don't know why we don't get it for number 3. Auto brake, select takeoff position, so RTO down there. Gangway disable. We need to close doors. Let's pop this up real quick. Not flight plan. Go to menu, shortcuts, cabin doors. Close this one. Arm all. Some doors could not be armed. Probably because it wasn't closed yet. Let's go return to shortcuts. Go to cargo doors and close all those. Close, 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 and close. And if we hop outside, we'll see that those are closing right now. Alright, looks like we got all the doors closed now. Now let's try to arm all. Go back to cabin doors, arm all doors armed. Fantastic. And then go back to, actually we need to stay there for the moment because we still got ground connections, right? External power is still connected, and then I guess, I don't know what the deal is with the chocks. There's no, I mean, those are your options for ground connections. Anyway, moving on. Okay, let's see. That's going to actually take us to our engine startup and pushback. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start the APU. Starting the APU is very simple. Now, I think there's actually a new way you're supposed to do this that I saw on PMDG's MD-11 page on Facebook, but I didn't actually pay attention, so my apologies for that. But I think they were saying not to use this button to start it. Now, we're talking real-world procedures, of course, not the PMDG MD-11, which it's not going to have the same issues that apparently has caused them to say that. So I think what they're saying is you're supposed to go to start-stop up here and then go down here to APU power. I don't know. I've got it on, so normally what I would do is I would just click this button and that would start firing everything up. But let's just let it do its thing for a minute, and then I'll come back here shortly and we'll see what we see. Alright folks, so you can see now that the APU power is available. So basically that's what it boiled down to, is using this button. Now I don't know if I did that right or if I'm doing it backwards or what, because like I said, I didn't actually read that post. So for my fellow MD-11 drivers in the PMDG MD-11 group over there on Facebook, my apologies if I got that incorrect, because I'm sure I'm going to post this video over there as well. So feel free to let me know if I got it wrong. So moving on here, that's going to take us into our engine start and pushback procedures. Now we don't need to request a pushback because we're going to pull straight forward. Beacon lights do need to come on at this point. Auxiliary hydraulic pump 1 needs to come on, which is this guy up here. And then engine A or B, we've already selected A, so that'll be fine. Fuel system manual light, verify that it's extinguished. That's this one right here, which it is. Air system manual light, verify extinguished. Again, that's this one, the system light, and it is extinguished. Parking brake off, we're going to leave it on for now, and then you would start the pushback. And then it goes engine 3 start switch, we would pull, and then we're good to go there. So we're pretty much ready to rock and roll here. I'm just double checking, I'm just glancing at my overhead here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, we don't have APU Bleed Air on, right? So where was that at? Maybe it was, you know what, APU Bleed Air was earlier when you first started up the APU. Of course, we didn't start it right away. So, and just so you know that on the checklist I'm using, it still has the external power as being left on. So again, starting with engine number 3, you right click the little red knob under here. It pops up and then you'll see it light up here. Give it a second. There you go. The light comes on. And then wait till 15% N2 and then add the fuel in there. So looking on here, you can see the N2's coming up almost to 15. When it gets to that blue line, basically you go ahead and left click to introduce the fuel. Not too shabby. And then it's going to go engine 1 and then engine 2. So 3, 1, 2 is the start order. So right now we're just waiting for the engine to stabilize. And the engine, the exhaust gas temperature and engine oil in normal range. Now I got to be honest, I don't know what normal range is, so you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But you can see it's stabilizing now, so we're good on that. So then it's engine 1, right click. Light will come on. There we go. Light's on. You can see the N2 coming up right there. I'll pop it up for you again. We're waiting for it to get to that blue line, which is 15% N2. There's 14 and 15. Go ahead and introduce the fuel. One thing that drives me nuts when I switch back and forth between aircraft is, you know, I start out at, you know, like I've been flying the PMDG 747 quite a bit lately, and I love that. I love that airplane. It's a lot of fun, and you start getting used to it. And you get into your groove, and you get into some good flows and stuff like that. And then you switch to something like an MD-11, and then you're like, ugh, where is everything? You know, and you try to make a video, and you kind of feel like you're lost. Engine stabilized. We'll go to engine 2 here now. Right click. It's a little frustrating sometimes, to be honest with you, especially if you're trying to make a video. You know, if you're not making a video, it's like, okay, whatever, you know, you can spend 5 minutes looking for a switch and it's not a big deal. If you're making a video, your option is to either just sit there and look for a switch on the video, or you got to pause the video so you can find the switch. It's kind of crazy. Well, it's telling me insufficient fuel now. So let's go to our performance page. Actually, clear that out and go to our fuel prediction. Where's fuel prediction? I know it's in front of my face. Don't we have a fuel prediction page? Progress will be fine. It's telling us 10,000. I'm missing something right now. I guarantee I am. But you know what? We need to press on because I've still got the APU running. So let's move on with that real quick. Engine and airfoil anti-ice on if required. We don't need it. APU air off. That one can come off now. APU verify off. So start stop switch. We'll click that to the off position. It'll spool down. And then external power can come off at this point, starting with galley and then this one here. And then let's bump down here and let's disconnect those because we don't need them anymore. And we don't need pushback. That's the only thing it gives us for ground connections is the air cart and the power. So there we go. Let's put it there. This should be on the active legs page, which it is. There we go. And then this one should be on the takeoff page. There we go. That's ready to go. What else we got here? Power's good. Nose light goes to taxi. That's this one here, so it's one click down. That's our nose light to taxi. Landing lights are off, logo lights on. I think we already had those on, didn't we? Nope. Yes, we did. Logo lights on. That finishes the pushback and takes us to our taxi checklist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my track IR fired up, all that good stuff, and then we'll come back on here, take care of our taxi checklist, and away we go. Alright folks, we got everything squared away here. Let's take a look at our taxi checklist real quick. We've requested our taxi clearance. Taxiways are noted. Ground guidance is not needed. Flaps need to be selected. So this is the one where it's a little tricky actually, because at least for me it is. Because I have to move it to just the right spot or it goes past the dial of flap. So there we go. There's dial of flap there. So that's going to put us at flaps 10. And we should see that right here on the primary flight display as well, flaps 10 using that dial of flap. So that's going to work out just fine for us. Spoilers need to be armed. Shift and tab is what I have set up to arm them, and you can see that the handle pops up. That means they're armed, so not a problem there. Let's see, TCAS needs to go to TARA. We're at TCAS. There we go. It's already on TARA. We did not put in our... There we go. Now we've put in our transponder code of 2336. Stabilizer trim set is indicated on takeoff reference page. That's this guy right here. And on takeoff reference page, it's where is it at? Stab 5.7. So let's bring this up to 5.7. Any day. That's kind of slow, huh? There we go, 5.7. And next page. FMC takeoff page has been checked. Nav mode push to arm. That's this switch down here. Push it to arm it. And that's it. So, track hour coming on, a little jump here. Actually, big jump. There we go. And let's get those brakes off. Let me double check and make sure that our A-Cars is doing its thing. It is. Fantastic. And away we go. Let's get a little throttle in there. We are heavy, so it should take some work to get moving. We'll find out here shortly. Not a lot of work, actually. Alright, as we start taxiing out here, I'm going to move on over here and let's go ahead and take care of the taxi and departure briefings. Alright guys, taxi doesn't get a whole lot simpler than this. We're down here on this end of the FedEx parking area, or FedEx cargo area. We're going to scoot over here to Alpha Taxiway. We're going to take that all the way down until we cross runway 7 right. And then when we cross 7 right, because it's the default scenery, the end of the runway is actually right here in the default scenery. Otherwise, we'd hang a left on hotel and line up over here. So we pretty much have equal length runways in this case. Let's take a look at our departure. So it's going to be the LAX X1 departure for us today, and as you can see, it's vectors initially at 071 degrees, and then for us it's literally going to be from there direct to thermal and then on course. So it's really a very simple departure for us. We don't have to worry about these waypoints because we're not going to scoot over here to SLI. We were originally, because we were going to be coming on runway 25 right, but instead we're taking 7 left. So once we get out here a little bit, we'll just turn direct towards thermal. SoCal departure is going to be on 124.3 and the airport elevation is at 128 feet. Alright, we got our holding short of the runway here. A little bit of traffic coming in that we had to work around, but no big deal. So, first things first, landing lights need to come on. High intensity lights need to come on. So these guys, let's make sure we're doing this the right way here. So that's extended, and then that's off, right? See, that's what's weird to me. Like, that looks like it's off. I would think it would be, oh yeah, there we go, extended on. So extended off was there, extended on is here. And then all these guys need to come on. Nav lights are already on, beacon lights are already on, high intensity lights need to come on. There we go. Those lights are a little confusing to me. Anybody else have a problem with that? Transponders on, auto flight needs to be armed, so we just click on that once, bam, that arms it. And then it's position and hold. Now when we're ready to go, it says to set the parking brake, thrust levers forward until takeoff thrust is displayed on the PFD, so we'll see takeoff thrust displayed on here. Release the parking brake at that point, and then verify takeoff clamp indicated following takeoff thrust. Okay, so let's see if we can get that right. We got anybody coming inbound here? Doesn't look like it. Okay, track IR coming on here. Big jump. Boom. There we go. And let's go ahead and roll her out on the runway. Get some thrust coming in there. It's interesting that they use the parking brake. I wonder why that is, instead of just using the toe brakes.
Approaching 07 left.
Double check one more time. Clear on our approach path. Nobody coming that way either. Alright. A little bit further here. And let's swing her around. And try to line her up without any issues. Something I'm not necessarily very good at. See, I always overshoot it a little bit. You notice that? I'm sure you guys have. Somebody's been like, you don't know what you're doing. So we're going to have to use a little bit of the extra runway here.
07 left.
Just to get her lined up. That's what I try to avoid. Alright, we're pretty close there. I'm going to cut those throttles back. We're going to be offline just a little bit. We'll get her lined up as we cruise on down here. Okay. So parking brake set. I just use control period to do that. Advance the throttles until you see takeoff thrust.
Brake.
There's
Brake.
takeoff thrust. Release the brakes. And then we should see takeoff clamp. Boy, she's got some power, huh? Waiting on takeoff clamp.
Thrust set.
There's thrust set.
80 knots.
Still not seeing takeoff. There's takeoff clamp. There we go. Okay. 80 knots checked. Some ground shake in there.
V1.
There's V1. Plenty of runway. Rotate. Up, up, and away. Following that flight director. Looking pretty good. Positive brake gear coming up.
Gear up.
I could have brought it up a little sooner. I was kind of watching my flight director there. Okay, let's increase that a little bit. So it's vectors. Not really. I mean, it's pretty much straight on, right? See, it wants us to climb even faster, which is just crazy to me. I mean, look at this rate of climb, guys. There's that turn coming in there. Need a little bit more. That thing's a little distracting, isn't it? Let's move it down. There we go. Oh, overshooting it a little now. Still wants us to climb higher or faster. Trying to follow the flight director, trying to look at the speed. I mean, like, we're right on our, almost right on top of our minimum maneuvering speed. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? Okay, let's go ahead and bring this speed to FMC speed there. Now it wants us to go to 245. That's why, because we weren't on FMC speed. So now it's going to have us speed up here. That's what we want. Start getting some speed on this aircraft, huh? Okay, so it says we can retract flaps, but then we got flaps 28 here and slats retraction here. So that always confuses me a little bit. I think we're a little slow for retracting flaps at this point. So I want to get past the flaps 28 and then we'll retract. So we're looking pretty good here. There we go. Now we'll retract.
Flaps up.
That's the flaps. We'll leave the slats out for now. And let's go ahead and engage the auto flight.
Auto flight.
There we go. Let's let the auto flight take care of business. That should keep us right around 250 knots. Track IR coming off here. We're getting close to 10,000 feet already. So let's get there real quick. And then we'll take care of landing lights and then our after takeoff checklist. Which at this rate we're going to get there fast. I mean, this thing climbs really, really fast. Even heavy like this, it's climbing like crazy, which is pretty wild when you think about it. Let's increase that a little bit. There we go. Coming up on 10,000 feet now, so let's go ahead and let's retract these. These guys can go off. High intensity lights will stay on. Let's take a look at our after takeoff / climb checklist. Vertical speed is set how we want it. Landing lights are off. Spoilers need to be disarmed. That's shift and tab for me. Auto brake needs to go off. And let's get those slats up now too. We're above 10,000 feet. We can increase speed. Where was I at? We did auto spoilers. Auto brake needs to go off. So this one's a little hard to see with the throttles up there. So the auto brake's here. So just right click it once. That puts it in the off position. Altitude, we've got it set to where we want it. Anti-ice, we don't need it on right now. Altimeter readjust above 18,000, and then landing lights retract. So right now they're extended. Right click them again to retract them and take that one to the off position as well. I forgot about that one. And that's it until we get to cruise altitude, which really cruise is just keeping an eye on things. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you guessed it, it is time for some of that obligatory elevator music. Okay, it's going to be the HOTAS 1, or HOTAS, I guess it's HOTAS. HOTAS 1 RNAV arrival for us today into Phoenix. First things first, ATIS is on 127.575, and the airport elevation is 1,135 feet. We're going to transition onto this arrival out here at Blythe, and we're going to follow this all the way down past Skull, Spink, Sonora, I think is what that's supposed to be. and then Swoon, and then there's H.O.T.A.S, and then from H.O.T.A.S it's to Gila, and then we'll go to the left here because we're going to be landing on runway 7 right. So it's going to be over here to Punt, Tyke, I guess that is, Tesla, Falgo, and then Kagor, and then on in from there. There are some altitude restrictions out here. 280 knots and at flight level 250 out here at Skull. Spink is at or above flight level 240. Sonora is at or below flight level 220. And let's see, nothing for Swoon. H.O.T.A.S got us between flight level 190 and 15,000 feet. And then Gila, or Gila, however you say it, is going to be between 17,000 and 11,000 feet at 250 knots. 230 knots down here between 12 and 10,000 feet. 210 knots between 9 and 8. 7,000 feet. 210 knots at 6,000 feet. And then at or above 5,000 at Kagor. A lot going on there. Lost comms procedures, landing runway 7 right at Balti. Intercept and execute the runway 7 right ILS approach. Pretty simple. And then the routing, we've already pretty much talked about that. So that takes care of our arrival briefing. Alright folks, as you can see, we're going to be on our top of descent here pretty quick. So we've got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. Our descent preparations include grabbing the airport information. This is our descent approach checklist, by the way. We've already grabbed the airport information. We've got our weather information. We should be good on all of that. We've gone into the FMC already. We put in the approach, the arrival, and everything before we started the flight because it's so short. Seatbelt sign is on. We do need to adjust the autopilot altitude. Now, looking at our arrival over here, basically we're good all the way down to 5,000 as long as the FMC or the flight management computer does what it's supposed to, right? Which is, you know, maintain the appropriate altitude restrictions that are built in there, and those are all built in according to the arrival chart. So let's bring this down to 5,000 for now. Actually, we could probably take it a little lower, but we'll watch it. I'm going to go with 3,000 because that's our intercept altitude. So down to 3,000. And I know that's not the right way to do it, but it's just one less thing for me to worry about while I'm descending and talking and trying to figure everything out, right? What do we got next here? Speed brakes, it just says up if required. Readjust the altimeter when you get to a certain point. Landing lights on below 10,000 feet. Taxi lights on land. Arming the spoilers. All of that stuff is really, that's the approach stuff. I don't know why it's a descent and approach checklist, but that's the way they have it set up. So to initiate the descent, what we're going to do is, you notice I left click this first just to get it to register whatever exact altitude it was at. And that, for whatever reason, if you just adjust it and then right click it, it doesn't seem to work right. I don't know if that's a little glitch or what, but to actually start the descent now, we'll just right click this knob when you get the little flat hand there. Not the curved one, that's to adjust it, but the flat one. Alright, so we're almost on the top of the descent here. Let's decrease this down a little bit. We're still about 20 miles out. We probably could have waited a little while to start this, but that's alright because we still need to take care of our approach briefing. So we're going to do that right now. I'll initiate the descent on time, and then away we go from there. Okay, taking a look at our approach briefing is going to be the ILS runway 7 right approach. ATIS is on 127.57 with approach frequency on 128.65. The tower for us is going to be 120.9er and ground is going to be 132.55. Localizer frequency is 110.75 with a final approach course of 078 degrees. Glide slope intercept at H.O.T.A. at 3,000 feet with an ILS decision altitude of 1,369 feet. And airport elevation is 1,135 feet. I totally jack up the approach on this completely. Not that I flew it wrong, but I didn't do any of my checklists or anything like that. So you're going to see that here shortly. Bear with me. Missed approach procedures. Climb to 3,300 feet, then a climbing right turn to 5,000 feet on heading 250, and outbound on the Phoenix at VOR 163 degree radial to Popke, which is 15 nautical miles out, then hold or as directed by ATC. So you can see on your plan view coming in at Tesla, Falgo, Kagor, Balti, H.O.T.A., and then a log or whatever, and then of course here's your missed approach. So we're going to climbing right turn out here, then we're going to intercept the outbound 163 degree radial to Popke. Looking at the profile view, 7,000 feet at Tesla, 6 at Falgo, 5 at Kagor, 4 at Balti, 3,000 for the intercept at H.O.T.A. and then Payload, or however you say that, down in from there, unless of course you have to execute that missed approach. Again, decision altitude 1,369 feet. Alright folks, as you can see, we've gone ahead and, we've crossed Tesley here. We're getting tank 1 and 3 fuel quantity low warnings here. So that's no bueno, is it? We should have enough fuel to get in here though. So we'll see what happens. Let's get the master caution off of there though. So it doesn't mean we're out of fuel, it just means we're low, but we expected that. We knew we were bringing it right on the edge as far as the fuel was concerned. Let's go ahead and hit the approach land switch here. It's going to lock onto the localizer right away. We're going to wait for it to grab the glide slope. Let's take care of this landing checklist. Flaps are going to be lowered as required. We're at flaps 15 right now. We're using the dial-a-flap, so we can actually bring that down a little bit more. Let's go ahead and bring it down to flaps 20 now. Right there. And you can see flaps 20 will be coming in. The speed is still at 185, so that's good. We're waiting for the ILS to be captured here, which it will be shortly. And as soon as it is, the gear will come down, and then we'll start slowing down a little bit more.
Altitude.
Yep, I know, altitude. We've got it set on the profile. That was the mistake I made as far as the descent was concerned, is I didn't use the profile button. Instead, I was controlling it myself. So if you use the profile, it should descend on its own, and it should maintain your altitude restrictions as well. So we're looking pretty good. We're going to get down to 5,000 as we come up to Caviar here. Autopilot will disengage that here in a little bit. Trim settings will be fine. Throttles, thrust reversers, all that stuff has to do with the actual landing itself. So we're just keeping an eye on it right now, just waiting for it to intercept that glide slope. I like to take advantage of the autopilot doing its thing, especially in this airplane. This is a tough airplane to fly. So, and then of course the fuel quantity is a little bit disconcerting, but we knew we were going to run a little low on fuel. If you look over here, we've got 11,400 pounds. You probably can't see that. 11,400 pounds of fuel. So we have enough to get into the airport. We even have enough for a missed approach if we need to. We'd look over here on our progress page, and you can see we're estimated at 10.9, and then if we go to our alternate, 8.2. So there is enough fuel there. And then looking here at our approach, I didn't do this before the descent, but we're going to do flaps 50 landing, so our approach is 159 with a VREF of 154. And if you go to your nav radio page, we put in the ILS frequency and the course there. So those are good. Let's put that back on the takeoff approach page. So 159 is what we're looking for our approach speed. We should hopefully intercept the glide slope here shortly. We're flying just below it, which is fine. It does say that landing is armed, but I don't think we're on it quite yet. What is our missed approach altitude again? Let me double check. So ultimately 5,000 feet. So let's bring that back up to 5,000. There we go, 5,000 feet missed approach altitude. There's the glide slope there. Let's go and get that landing gear down. And let's bring in the flaps to 35.
Flaps 28.
I'm sorry, 28. And we're good for flaps 35. There they go. Flaps 35 coming in. And then flaps 50.
Flaps 50.
And again, we're looking for 159 as our approach speed. Track iron coming on, a little jump here, big jump. Big jump. Alright, let's just let her settle down for a second. We're looking good here. This is the shorter runway. We could auto land, we're not going to. So we'll disconnect the autopilot here shortly. Alright, looking good, guys. Let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. I think it's this one, right? Yep, there we go. A little bit of trim in there. Looking good. Alright, trying to check on those throttles there. Descending just a wee bit fast, not too bad though. Looks like the auto throttle's still doing its thing there. Keeping an eye on that speed. We're a little bit below glide slope here. Bring that nose up just a wee bit. Looking good. Coming back on a glide slope here. Fantastic. Now it's not me moving the yoke a bunch. There's some turbulence. That's where you're getting a lot of your up and down from. But we're looking pretty good here.
07 right.
Just straight off to the side a little. We got a little crosswind there. Alright, let's fly her in and put her down. There we go. Not too bad. Not my cleanest approach here. Alright, not too bad though.
500.
Alright, let's listen to the rest of our call outs, guys.
400. Approaching minimum.
I need those off for the throttles.
300.
Got a little high.
Minimum.
Wow.
100.
Jeez. I've got the thrust all the way back.
50. 40.
Glide
30,
slow.
20. 10.
Oh, where'd he come from? Oh boy.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. I armed. You know what? I didn't do
Reverse
my
thrust event.
checklist. Oh, that would be terrible.
3,000.
How
feet
embarrassing is that? I didn't
remaining.
even see him.
80 knots.
Didn't even see him there.
60 knots.
Unbelievable. So I disconnect the auto thrust and the speed just went bonkers on me there. And stupid me, I didn't finish my landing checklist. We had no spoilers on that one. Wow, that was a little embarrassing, guys. Wee bit embarrassing there. You know, the AI traffic is just ridiculous. I need an ATC program, but I need one that's going to control the AI traffic as well. But yeah, that whole, was it just me or did he just, I'm going to have to go back and look at the video clip again, but I swear I did not see him, and then he just appeared on the runway all of a sudden. I didn't see him on the approach or anything. I mean, he might have been on the TCAS, but I don't think so. I think he just appeared on the runway all of a sudden. Come on, get that thrust going here. Goodness gracious. Alright, let's get it off the runway here. Swing it up and around. Little embarrassed by that one, a little bit. But, oh, now it wants to go. Wow. I did not see him at all. That would have been an absolute disaster. See, I really do need a good ATC program. I really do. Okay, well, it is what it is, guys. Here we are. We've killed everybody on board that Southwest Airlines flight. So, alright, let's bring her to a nice, easy, gentle stop here. Maybe. Doesn't even want to stop. Track iron coming off. Goodness gracious, that was just embarrassing. I'll bet the landing rate was atrocious, too. Come on. Ugh. I kind of don't like when they use right-click as a function for some of the buttons, especially if it's hard to get to it there. Let's take a look at our after landing checklist. Very embarrassing. Transponder to standby. Anybody notice that I didn't actually turn my TCAS on before departure? I turned it on later, but yeah, I didn't actually turn it on. Way to go, right? Flaps set to 0. Flaps are coming up. Speed brakes, no point in disengaging those, right? We didn't set the auto brakes. How did I miss all of that? Like, none of it's on the checklist, and so I just completely spaced on all of it. That's actually really, that's embarrassing, to be honest with you. We could have done without the, we did without the speed or the auto brakes fine, but still, that stuff's part of the checklist, you know, and you're supposed to do that stuff, and I totally messed it up. APU coming on. Well, that's embarrassing, but it is what it is. Let me look at the landing rate here real quick. I'm sure that's, oh yeah, minus 212, which actually isn't really that bad, but it's still, you know, for me that's kind of crummy. So, all right, guys, that's our after landing slash taxi checklist. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna taxi this aircraft in, and you know, try and stroke my pride a little bit. I don't even know what the term is here. Try and savor a little bit of pride that I have left. That was embarrassing. I forgot all my checklist items. Like I said, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at the video clip before we get to the parking checklist, and I just want to see if he was there and I just wasn't paying attention or what, because yeah, that's no good. We don't want that. We have AI traffic and I want to use it, but that was no good right there. So anyway, taxiing in. See you guys in a minute. Alright, folks, we got her parked here. I would just like to note really quick that I did go back and review that video clip, and that airplane appeared on the aircraft right before we touched down or right after we touched down. It was not there. I mean, I looked at it 3 or 4 times. That airplane was not there, and then all of a sudden it just appeared, and that's crap. There is no reason a frickin' AI traffic should just appear on the runway like that. That's just ridiculous, but whatever, it is what it is. What's actually more embarrassing than that is the fact that I missed all my checklist items, and then when I took the auto thrust off, I just didn't reduce it quick enough. My speed increased. It was just a terrible landing overall. But it is what it is, guys. We all make mistakes, so you know, yeah, that's just life sometimes. But anyway, okay, so taxi light was supposed to come off before we turned in here. Of course, I didn't turn it off because I guess I just don't like the ground crew guys very much. I always forget that. Parking brake is set. Engine 1 and 3 fuel flow switches can go off. So right click them, 1 and 3. And then says verify APU air electric on, alert on EAD. So that should be on here. APU and then air, and then what else does it say? APU air and electric on. Well, I see APU power available. I see air on. I don't see electric on. It's not on here either. Not really sure about that, but anyway, I know it's good to go. So then we can take engine 2 fuel flow switch off. Seatbelts can come off at this point. That's the wrong switch there. Right click those. There we go. We can see the APU is on and available, so that's good. Doors disarm, so let's hop down here. Electric air. So now we're getting a warning there, electric air on. You know what it probably is, because I didn't turn this guy on. Right? What's the problem here? What'd I miss? APU available on. Oh, you got to hit the on switch. Duh. There we go. I bet it's working now. I'm an idiot. Don't mind me, guys. Let's go here to FS shortcuts, ground connections. Let's connect the ground power real quick, and then go back over here to cabin doors. Disarm all. All doors disarmed. Open forward left, and then back over here. Let's get the cargo doors open. Just open them all. There we go. And then let's grab GSX here and request deboarding. And they should be starting to do their thing out there, hopefully. Yep, there we go. GSX is doing its thing out there. Okay, moving on now. Gangways coming into place. IRS selectors 1 through 3 need to come off. Left click them each one time. They go off. All exterior lights except nav need to go off. So high intensity lights should have come off already anyway. Beacon light can come off. Logo light can go off. Nav light stays on. The rest of them are already off. External power on. So it's external power, then galley external power. That's that one there. TCAS is already on standby. Anti-ice is all off. So we've got the windshield heat on. And cargo temp off and APU off. So cargo temp is over here. Turn that off. Forward and aft, and then it says APU off, so we'll stop using this guy here. We're on external power, so we shouldn't have any problems with that. And then at this point the aircraft will be ready for for a turnaround for the next flight, but of course we're not going to do that. So we're going to leave it in this state. However, that's kind of where we've been leaving it, ready for a turnaround, because again we do have a full flight tutorial on it where I think I did a little bit better in that flight than I did in this one. So that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. It was a good flight. Definitely embarrassing on the landing, but you know what? We can't get everything perfect every time, right? So I know you guys have your struggles occasionally as well, so I hope that you guys just bear with me on that. But that is a really close view there. If you haven't already done so, guys, please take the opportunity to hit the subscribe button. We're over 5,500 subscribers. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, give it a like down below. The more likes we get, supposedly, the higher it goes in the search queue, and that's always good for me and all that good stuff. So you can also like us on Facebook. I've gotten very much more active over there, and I'm going to try and continue that policy. So, you know, hop on over to Facebook, hit the like button. You can see what's going on over there, and I do live stream announcements and so on. And I also have gotten into doing live streams without announcing, so you know, be prepared for that as well. If you happen to see me on here streaming live, we'll hop on and say hi. You can also follow us on Twitch. You know, we've got quite a few followers over on Twitch, but interestingly enough, I get substantially more folks that hop on and view the flights when I'm live streaming on YouTube than when I'm live streaming on Twitch. So we'll probably start streaming more on YouTube, but by all means go ahead and like us over or follow us over on Twitch as well at CaptainMac3588, because I will stream over there occasionally as well once I get this streaming issues figured out. And that's it, folks. That's going to wrap it up for this one. So until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all and have a fantastic day.